This is reposted.
Today we are joined by Will Hines. He's a Los Angeles-based actor and comedian. He also has a podcast, which I'm a huge fan of. It's called I Will Write Your Book. It's a weekly podcast where he improvises playing a ghostwriter named Will Hines who meets various insane clients throughout the literary world. And I definitely recommend checking it out. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, or you can go to I Will Write Your Book on Instagram and on Twitter at I Will Write Your. Thanks for joining us today, Will.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So today we're going to be looking at an idea from John McGrath. He's a motivational coach on Twitter. He says, the person you will be 5 years' time can be predicted by the media you consume, those closest to you, and your predominant thoughts. What do you think about that, Will?
Well, it sent chills through me because when I got that, because you sent that to me just a few minutes before we started recording, and I was looking at social media and like mad at it. I don't even remember mad at somebody for being mad at something, one of those. And I was like, okay, my thoughts are filled with anger. I'm consuming bad social media and there's nobody around me. This thought does not bode well for what kind of person I will be in 5 years. But so the first thing I had was like, Jesus, I gotta stop looking at Twitter. But I have that thought 100 times a day, and I never do. So that was my first thought, was like, I'm in bad shape. But then I was like, oh no, actually, I can see where that's a nice inspiration, because I actually like my friends.
Yeah,
I have positive friends who I like talking to and are good. And outside of social media, I like the media that I consume. I like the TV shows I watch, the movies I watch, the books I read. I feel pretty good about that stuff.
Yeah, I think
it's deliberate, and I like it, and I feel good about it, and I'm not like just passively watching a bunch of garbage. I like the stuff that I absorb.
Yeah, I think it's important to think about like the people that you're around. I made a career shift, working construction, moving down to LA 5 years ago to pursue acting, and just being around improv scene and being around different people. I'm definitely a different person now than I was 5 years ago. Not necessarily trying to be, but I think it is what you surround yourself with, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, you're going to be influenced by the stuff you're hearing constantly. And I think it's a good reminder that like you said, maybe stop looking at social media for a minute if it's getting you triggered. I know I've been a lot quicker to snooze people on Facebook because I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I put the responsibility on myself. If I'm letting myself get to a place of anger, it's on me eventually. But yeah, I'm not above muting somebody if for some reason everything they say gets me mad. I don't begrudge them their right to say whatever they want, but I don't have to read it.
Yeah.
If it's only going to put me in a negative place, if I'm not in a place where I'm ready to hear that stuff, I guess. How about you, Larry? What do you think of this?
Well, my question is this: what happens if you're like a loner or you're a monk? How does this quote affect you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's gonna make them feel even worse.
My actual thought is this: I'm on a podcast with Andrew every day, so therefore he's my social media, and I'm around him every day. So basically, I am becoming Andrew Keller. I mean, I think that's what I'm becoming.
Yeah, that quote would say that. Your identity is going away. I do, I have thought before, like the people you surround yourself with are really important. I've gone through phases in my life where I have diminished friendships or relationships if I feel if they just make me feel bad.
Yeah.
And I try to have compassion for the person. I'll be like, hey, maybe they're good friends with somebody else, but for whatever reason, me and this person have a bad dynamic. This was more true when I was, I'm an actor and a comedian. And when I was first getting into it, which I felt late. Like when I was 30 is when I began. Although 30 seems impossibly young to me now, but I felt behind already. But, a lot of aspiring comedians, with people trying to be funny, there's like a lot of meanness within people trying to be funny and trying to one up each other and try to be competitive. So I had amongst my circle a lot of like bitter, funny people, like talented people, but who were just who were like, you know what? I think I'll enjoy you on the stage, but I don't need to be having lunch with you because you bring that energy. Your voice lives in my head as a little negative, critical voice. So maybe I don't need to hang out with you. And in recent years, I've been pretty good about prioritizing people who are just generally compassionate.
Yeah, I think a good litmus test of figuring out people that maybe trigger you is if you see their name pop up on a phone call or a text, if it like makes you take a breath being like, oh, what is it now? Versus like, I want to be the person they see my name pop up and like, hey, what's up? Because you don't
Yeah.
necessarily induce stress in their life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I wonder what it is that I think that there's a certain amount of people who are just secure in themselves. Those are the people I like being around, where they just feel very solid and comfortable in their skin. They don't seem to feel like they have to knock you down or knock other people down to feel all right about their day. Hey, not that I'm above a little trash talk or a little gossipy. Hey, I love it. I love it. But there are some people who really lean into it with a certain hungry need to like rip people down, and you know that could be bad news.
Yeah.
So I responded that part of the quote. I'll stand by the people I surround myself with. I feel good about it. But I maybe wouldn't have felt that way like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I think I gravitated towards shiny, mean people because they were funny.
Yeah.
Talented people too, but like a lot of charismatic, funny, mean people were like my jam for a while. And I say keep them on stage, and you don't need to have them as your confidants.
Yeah. Larry, have you found yourself muting people on Facebook or Twitter, or do you just lean into it?
You know, I like what Will said is you want to be around someone. This is my litmus test. You want to be around someone who, when they ask you a question, you get the sense that they actually want the answer. That's truly my litmus test. They're gonna ask you a question. They're gonna sit there and watch you and hear the answer, because there's so many people that ask questions. They go like, "So how's your day?" And then they're looking around the corner. Like that's who I don't want to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good listener. That's so crucial. Like a true sympathetic listener who's actually like interested in what you have to say. Yeah, they're not darting around.
Yeah.
Thinking about something else. Yeah, that's a good litmus test.
Cool.
I think about voices in my head. Who creates a positive voice in my head? I have a roommate now. He's a friend of mine. He's another actor and writer. We moved out to LA around the same time from New York, and he's a real positive guy. Just every we don't see each other a lot. Our lives are sort of separate, but just a little small talk. He'll just be like, "Hey man, how's it going? Did you have that audition today?" I'll be like, and if I'm nervous about it, I'll be like, "Yeah, I don't know." He's like, "Hey man, you crushed it. You crushed it. You did great." Just like reflexively, his energy is like, "You can do it. You can do it." It makes a difference.
I like the idea that you and him are like brushing teeth together. He's like, "Hey, Will, you look good in that shirt today, man."
He would do something like that. That's not too far off. I feel like that's pretty right.
All right. Well, I think people should look out for being around people that compliment you. So, guys, thank you again so much for joining us, Will. If you guys haven't already, check out I Will Write Your Book. Twitter, I Will Write Your Book. Or I Will Write Your. Instagram, I Will Write Your Book. If you have a post you'd like us to further explore, please reach out. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Reposted Podcast. Thank you again so much, Will. I'm Andrew for Larry and Will saying thanks for stopping by.
Andrew and Andrew. There's no Larry anymore.
Andrew and Andrew.